Welcome back to ShePropTalk. I'm Beverly, your host, and my guest today is M from Foresaken Faerie. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you so much for being here. I am really excited to talk today to you because, and I don't even know where to start because you're the amount of work and the diversity of the things that you do is really, really impressive. You do special effects, and well, you know what? I shouldn't say what you do. I would love it if you would say what you do. Tell us a little bit about yourself and everything that you do. That could take all episode long, by the way, because based on what I've been seeing and what we've been talking about, it's pretty impressive.
Okay. People always ask, tell me about yourself. I have to honestly get over that as a bad habit. I realized over life that's an insecure thing that I don't realize it's considered insecurity.
Putting you on the spot, I'm sorry.
No, it's totally fine. It's totally fine. I'm just always very reclusive, so I'm just like, yeah, whatever, in a Cape dark somewhere. Don't ask me about my life. Here's a project. Bye. Thank you. But yeah, I do special effects, makeup, costuming, illustration, voice acting, and I used to also do stage acting as well for musical portion. I should actually not say stage, musical theater.
Okay.
And what else? And then there's other random bits and pieces that kind of go hand in hand with all those skill sets that you kind of just pick up along the way because it kind of diverses, job opportunities. So It's honestly, I have a really randomly weird skill set beside that. So it's like if you didn't think someone would possibly pay any kind of attention to learn that, I probably did. Because I was like, why not?
Well, I just can't get over, when we started talking about getting you on the podcast, it was just like one thing after another, and usually there's just like one specialty that we get to talk about. Mm-hmm. But there's so many things that I really want to know more about with what you do, because it's like all things that I think a lot of people either are hoping to maybe learn about or have done a little bit of, or yeah. So let's start with what do I want to start with? Let's start talking about special effects and makeup and stuff. I'm really interested. So you sent me some photos, and the prosthetics.
I had to pick, by the way, because I realized I couldn't, for your show, I wasn't sure if I could send you super gory things, so I was like, I'm not trying to scare anybody, so I think like, that was not the most...
It wasn't?
Shock.
No, please send me some stuff. Like, I really want to know. Like, I'm fascinated with all of the gory stuff that you that I found on your website. Where can we find your FX work? Because you have several different accounts and things for the different areas of work that you do.
If you're trying to find just straight up just the makeup, it's MFX Makeup on Instagram. Or if you just go to my main portfolio website, which is miss-manda.com, I have like the little sections put up, and the makeup is, I think, the last category in it.
Awesome. Well, I'm scrolling through your Instagram right now, and it's just so awesome. Can we talk about let's just talk about the gory stuff to start off with, because
sure.
I am so fascinated. I did a zombie run, like a fun run, a few years ago, and my favorite part was when my husband, they had like a makeup station there with some people that were just kind of doing some makeup, some gory makeup for the zombie people that would like jump out and accost the runners, and that was the best part of the whole day, was watching the makeup application for this. So if someone was interested in starting out with doing some gore effects, what is something that is like a basic application, or can we start talking about terms and like some basic stuff?
Sure. So this is vastly different from when I started in special effects, because now there's more opportunities. Like YouTube has a lot of stuff now, and then you could also, the internet has like even widened more, where a lot of companies you couldn't really get to, because believe it or not, a lot of the entertainment industry still does a little bit old-fashioned, so you can still order things from like a catalog kind of situation. So like getting these like certain like products and things you would hear over the counter would require pick up the telephone number and call so and so to talk to a representative to get something, or
really?
catalog. Yeah. So it's been in, or you have to go in person to the store. And if you don't have a special effects store in your area, it was going to be a nightmare. So you had to like improvise. So for starters, I'm going to use what I did was pretty much, I grew up as a horror movie fan. My mother loves horror movies, vampire, everything runs through our whole family. And the biggest thing that turned me on the special effects makeup was getting to watch the making of Michael Jackson's Thriller. It's an entirely, I don't know if they still have, I think you can find it on YouTube, but there's the actual music video Thriller, and then there was an entire document series called The Making of Thriller. I used to rent this VHS all the time from Blockbusters. I'm showing my age here, by the way. Rent this VHS.
I think I've seen that. Yeah.
So much. And I was just so amazed at the makeup. And then I fell in love with like Rick Baker, and I was just like, oh, this is awesome. I need to get into this.
So that was your first foray?
So I used to do the terrible thing.
That was what got you interested?
That was my first. Seeing the Thriller music video, and then seeing that behind the scenes when they were making everything, and they were explaining rubber mask grease makeup paint, which no one really uses anymore, thank God. And just like have like just everything, and I was just like how they use the balloons and a hand pump to like make the appearance of like the skin stretching and morphing, and I love practical effects. I am one of those people that like till this day I love CGI for what it is, but there's just I'm very biased in the fact that like I kind of think nowadays it's a little bit too overused and you miss the realism. Like for me, my favorite special effects non-makeup movie is Jurassic Park. You can show Jurassic Park from when it came out in the 90s, you can show Jurassic Park now, and those dinosaurs still look amazing as puppeteering and animatronics and people in suits. But they did use CGI for, where it was needed, but like it still holds up. I was rewatching Star Wars The Phantom Menace recently, and I was like,
oh Lord.
Okay. And then it got worse when I went into Attack of the Clones, and I was just like,
oh gosh.
What in the, oh my goodness. Wow. Okay. So that was a starter for me, and my mom was the one with the makeup. She's more of a effeminate lady, so she had like all this expensive makeup, and I used to steal it from her, and her expensive eyeshadow palette. So I would just kind of look at like how people's faces would look in the movies and stuff, and I saw she had some of them colors. Okay, I would try and emulate it. And she hates when I tell people this story. But one night I stole her eyeshadow, and I kind of like, I had this like fake tube of blood that you could get from like Party City. It was supposed to be for the vampire fang effect. Had it lying around. I got this weird idea I was like, I put it around my nose. I saw her eyeshadow, and I made like a bruise effect on my face. I have a younger brother, so we always get into fights. So I came in the room one day, and I'm her less obnoxious but most problematic child because of my strange humor and wit. So I always find the weirdest ways to freak her out. So I came in the room, and she freaked out thinking my brother beat me up. And she was she was literally about to go off, and I was like, no. I was like, are you kidding me? So this started this lifelong trend when I decided I'm going to get into special effects, and I needed to test out how real my makeup was.
Oh no, your poor mom.
So when I was starting out, the first thing that I did was I had Googled like special effects makeup kit, like what is the standard that comes in it, because I was used to theater makeup, but it's the same thing essentially, but there's a little bit more chemistry involved as well. And and the one thing that I always like to tell people, so because it tends to be like nowadays like a line blur between beauty makeup and special effects because it's all makeup, but there honestly is a certain skill set that is much different. Like you can look at a tutorial and look at someone's face, put on the eyeshadow and everything, but there's an entirely different kind of skill set when you have to use dangerous chemicals in order to make prosthetics. safety precaution when I'm putting that on someone's face. And a lot of times I've seen some videos where people use some really unsafe things. And, I mean, I understand you're being, clever and things like that. But if you're trying to, like, if you're taking a really weird picture of yourself that's only going to sit on your face for a second, I guess. But, if you're trying to get something to last a little bit longer, wearable nonetheless, or put on someone else's skin, it's not. And then on top of that, there's heavy sanitation involved because you can easily get infections from, and I will further explain all that if you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
So, when starting out, especially the biggest thing I tell you is set yourself a budget. Set yourself a budget, but also don't feel pressured to have the latest, greatest, and most extreme thing. There's a lot of products out there. Everyone's always advertising the daunting things. Unless you have an allergy, you will be fine with liquid latex, which you can get both clear, neutral tone, and Krylon actually offers slightly tinted versions of the latex, but you can also tint it yourself as well. Latex, tissue paper, crappy tissue paper. Don't go out and get the nice 2-ply. That will not help you. You need dollar store 1-ply. If you go and pull off one sheet, you can see through it and wear it as a veil. You need the crappiest.
So not the Puffs Plus super quilted northern.
No, none of that fancy nonsense. None of that. It's not needed here. Cotton balls. You want to make sure you have alcohol. And this is very important to know the different types of alcohol. If you are working with products that you need to sanitize, 70% and above.
Okay.
Anything below that is not going to really help you out in any kind of way. It'll be small sanitation, but when you're really needing to clean and get stuff off, has to be 70 and above. 99 is usually what is used for alcohol makeup to activate it, and you cannot activate alcohol makeup with anything less than 99. Although when you are using it, it evaporates much quicker than any of the other ones because of how proof it is. So cleaning wise, 70, or if you can find 91, even better.
Okay.
99, I will also say, I was going to say 99 is also the most expensive one to get as well.
Okay. I was just going to ask, where are these available at the drugstore or supermarket?
So if you go to CVS and Rite Aid, you can definitely get 70 and 91%. 99 is a little bit of a hit and miss because they'll show online, if you go to CVS Rite Aid online, that you can get 99, but not a lot of times you can. So the places you can get 99% alcohol from is the FX Warehouse, you can, or any online special effects place, or if you go to a soap making company and you can get a gallon.
A soap making company. Okay. Oh, interesting. All right. Cool. Well, I guess that makes sense.
It's in a lot of products, especially for shampoos and more liquid products. And also they also have recipes for making hand sanitizer and other sanitary things as well. Yeah. So it's also, again, best thing for sterilization, especially when you're making body care products that you don't want anyone to get any infections from anything contaminated. But if you definitely check the websites for any special effects, or theatrical stores don't really have it. So if there's a theatrical supply, I've never actually seen them carry alcohol or sanitation stuff. Maybe they do now because of thing. Yeah. I could definitely tell you any FX supply place and any wholesalesupplisplus.com is the soap making and body skincare company, so you can definitely get products from them as well.
Okay, awesome. I'm going to put some links to everything in the show notes, so listeners, don't worry about writing that down, or write it down. These are really great resources. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Well, cool. So we talked about alcohol and sterilization or sanitation and being safe, which I think is so paramount. I think that people sometimes get so eager to just jump right in that they kind of forget about being safe. So I really like to hear that you are really, really careful about that. So that is awesome. Okay, so we've got our crappy tissue and we've got our liquid latex. And cotton balls, all of that. What's next?
So if you just have those things, you can literally use that to make burns, which I have made incredible burns. I will send you pictures of burns because those have all been made with cheap tissue paper and liquid latex.
Cool. Okay.
And the cotton balls are usually used for build-up. Now, I personally don't like really using these. I prefer using tissue paper for things, but so tissue paper can be used for when you're doing again, burns, skin issues, such as you can use it in little areas like around the eyes if you want to try and get like the more of the wrinkle effect. If someone's having a bad sunburn and the skin peel, or if you want to do the reveal, where I've seen some people like online where they'll do this thing where they'll have the peel up the fake skin and then you see like the tendons and everything in hands. Yeah. So that's what you can honestly use that for. And to do things like that. If you have a plastic surface or a metal flat surface, you could build yourself little pieces of fake skin by literally just smearing on liquid latex and putting little layers of tissue paper. The tissue paper is what gives toughness to it so it doesn't tear as easily. And I completely forgot the most important thing to have is baby powder. Because if you're working with liquid latex, when it dries, it will stick to itself. So you need to make sure anytime you're doing anything like open wounds and whatnot, you powder that thing the hell down. So if you're trying to do like a skin flap or something and say like you have, I wish I had it near me. I probably should drag my makeup kit over here now. I'm thinking about it. It would have been better to show you what I was doing.
You can if you want. I mean, this is your time. Yeah,
because I'm telling something with invisible air. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay.
So this is the thing that I carry. This is one of my makeup cases.
Oh my gosh.
So this is a little portable thing. It's a strap, and it also turns into a backpack, and it can go onto a rolling bag. But this is what I take with me to the theater and on set. If I don't need to carry a lot of stuff, because I have a regular makeup case for other things, and it is like hauling a car around.
I bet. That must be incredibly heavy.
It really is. I have some decent arms, and I got the nickname of being called Guns because of this nonsense. So I'm like, I'll take it, but like my arm is going to fall off one of these days. All right. Okay, so these little things, I think you can buy this as a set, because I know I did. So I got this off eBay, like, a good time ago, and this is like $10.
Okay, so describe what that is for someone that might just be listening.
So this is a spatula. This is a double-ended, so one end has a flat, round side, and then another one has a little bit of a point to it. And then this is just a little metal palette. So this is great for sanitizing and any type of things if you want to keep products clean. This is also for mixing products together. And this is also what I use if I need to make, latex fake pieces of skin. So what you would do is, if you were to, like I was saying, if you were to build like a little skin flaps, like you want to do a peel back, you would use this, and then you would just kind of take a little sponge applicator, and you would just kind of stipple around some of the latex product on here, dry it. Either let it dry by yourself, or if you have a hair dryer, speed up the process, even better.
Okay. Let
that dry, stipple on a little bit more, then put like a little thin layer of tissue paper, stipple it on a little bit more, and then you would end up having, until you were like pretty much satisfied with how thick of a layer it was. And before you do anything, you will take powder, and you would kind of just dust around the top edge, and then using one of the spatulas, you use like the rounded edge side, and you just kind of pick up the side. Now, the key thing to picking up latex is that as soon as you immediately lift that skin up, you need to shove the baby powder in there and just kind of have the brush already underneath that little pocket. And as you're using one hand, you should also keep this on the table, but having one hand lifting it up, the other hand is pretty much dusting, like you're dusting fingerprints underneath. So as soon as you peel it off, it won't like immediately fold into yourself and, adhere to you. Okay. And then So if you're just working with just that basics, you can literally start stippling some of the liquid latex on your hand and then reapply it there. I don't use, and then, or if you have spirit gum lying around, I don't like spirit gum.
I've heard mixed things about spirit gum. I've never really used it.
It works if you're putting jewels on yourself for face painting. I will say that spirit gum, specifically a certain brand of spirit gum, not any kind of cheap one. This one is called Krylon's water soluble spirit gum. It's a little bit more expensive, but this is it's super hydrating and it's kind of somewhat waterproof. So this one is more adhesive. And if you're a sweaty person, this will stick for less, but I would not really recommend this for facial applications. This is for, again, if you're sticking leaves to your face or little accents, but not a facial prosthetic. For facial prosthetics, Prosate is honestly the best thing to use. And you can get it in from anywhere now. Like Prosate itself is a brand, but everyone makes their own version of it. It literally just looks like a little bottle of white glue. And what Prosate is a medical grade adhesive. So it's exactly what you think it is. It's medical grade, which means you put it on, you don't want this in your hair because getting it off can be a bit of a nightmare, especially if you get it in your hair. But the best thing about it is that it holds up when you're wet. Now, the double standard with this thing is that it's if you use rubber cement and how you have to have 2 parts dry and then attach it, that's how you use Prosate.
Okay.
But you have to make sure Prosate is completely dry before you do that. Like, there can be no extra glue forming. It has to be completely dry, otherwise it will reactivate itself. So even if the whole area is dry, if you have if you have a small corner where that's still uncured, if you start sweating, it will reactivate the whole thing on your hand, and then your stuff or whatever it's on, and it will fall off. So it has to be 100% dry.
Oh, interesting. Is there a certain remover that you use or that?
So you can remove it with 99 alcohol. However, skin irritation is an issue. Not a lot of people really want to tolerate having to rub alcohol on their skin. So I love using this. Oh, good Lord. Isopropyl myricate. It's a really fine mineral kind of like oil.
Okay.
Very, very greasy. It's very light, but you touch a small amount of it and you feel like it's all over your hand. But it's nice to use because all you have to do is just take like a little, cotton swab of it and just press it into the area and just let it soak and just peel it right off.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
And it's good also for taking off makeup as well. And so this is my if I absolutely need a quick fix. Now, me and my lovely mad scientist self, I like to make my own chemical cleaners. So I make my own brush cleaning solutions and my own makeup removers, especially because when I work with people, sometimes you run into people who have allergies. So there'll be that one person that is allergic to the main product that everyone else is using, and now you can't use it on them, and you have to find something. Yeah. So I have to take, my chemistry knowledge in hand and also skincare knowledge in hand, and on the spot come up with something that I have, or either go home and do something, especially if it's like a multiple show situation where I can go home and not need it right then and there. Yeah. I had an actor that I did a prosthetic for on his scalp, and he was breaking out and he was bald headed. So he would start getting like acne pimples and whatnot because of the Prosate. And again, it's being put on his head every single night. He's sweating, so the irritation's going to build up. So I had to go home and put together with what I had, testing out a product that would remove it, where I wasn't using so much alcohol that it was drying out his scalp and causing the irritation, but enough to remove the adhesive, sanitize the area from any kind of infections from having to wear that so long, and then also at the same time keep his skin hydrated. So that's a personal choice and a personal service on my end, because I just like really customizing certain things like that for people that I work with, because like I said, I care about sanitization, and I care about people's health. So I want to make sure whatever I'm using they're not going to afterwards be like, I broke out to a million like hives or something after that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can only imagine. So do you have to make sure in advance that an actor isn't like, say, allergic to latex if that's what you're
Yes.
if that's what you're using?
Yes. So that's I try not to have latex. I carry latex around with me. What is it that I have? I have this stuff called Creature Liquid Latex. It's because I usually get the regular kind from the special effects company near me, but during like Halloween time, we have like so many haunt attractions. I'm in Philadelphia, so we have so many haunt attractions that trying to get some that one thing when it's a shop and servicing everything local. Yeah, I'm like crap. So I got that off of Amazon and I had to use it for something. But other than that, I really tried not to use it. I prefer working with silicone.
Okay.
There is also another alternative. Not a lot of people use it, and I don't think a lot of people know about it. But it's called watermelon skin.
I feel like I've heard that term before, but yeah.
It's like how latex is in the sense of it's slightly transparent and it's adhesive, but it's vinyl. And the way that it's made, it's kind of like similar to how you are curing latex, where because it's water-based, in case you don't know, small information, if you're ever trying to cast anything with liquid latex as well, so if you're not only just, getting to that, but like if you're not just like building up a little fake wound or something for yourself and you want to try and make your first sculpt out of something, you can absolutely do that with liquid latex. Just know and understand that because liquid latex needs to evaporate and water needs to be pulled out of it. It needs to be sitting in something, not like this. This would never work. It needs to be sitting in most likely a cement mold, because it will not cure very well in like a silicone mold. And what cement does is it's the same thing as what it does as a sidewalk for concrete and whatnot, is it absorbs the water and pulls it down into the earth. So it pulls the water from that's inside, the chemical, the latex, so that it's curing, dries, and gets pulled into that. So the same thing with watermelon vinyl is you put it in your mold and you scrape it on, and I believe you have to treat it the same. The only difference is that with liquid latex, once you powder, the one end, heal up and powder the other end, it's good to go. Slap it on your face. Watermelon is kind of like when you're using silicone, and when silicone adhesives that you're putting on a body, this is a caustic thing, mind you. I'm going to forewarn anybody who ever wants to do silicone prosthetics at home. Don't be scared. It's just, I'm used to it, but for some people who have a sensitive nose, it's a doozy. It's a product called Super Baldies, and it is very
Super Baldies.
Super Baldies. The best way I could describe it is it's like smelling ammonia. Extreme ammonia smell.
Like a terrible cat box kind of ammonia smell.
Kind of, except for it smells hot. It smells hot, has the ability to smell hot. And Super Baldies. Let's see. Where are you? As I go digging for this, I don't even think it's in here. No. It is at my chemical station. I should have realized that, but
that's okay.
So the Super Baldies is actually, it's like a gelatin, and with that stuff, in order to use that, you could use the Super Baldies as is, from taking it out, and it's super super thick, but it's not going to spread as easy. So what you have to do is this is what also makes it, again, fuming wise, you want to make sure you're wearing like some sort of mask on your face, is if you have a little cup, the little plastic like medicine cups, and you take a teeny scoop amount of Super Baldies, you thin that out with acetone.
Oh, okay.
And then once you mix it up, you pretty much have what looks like a shot of water, and you take whatever crappy paintbrush you have that you do not care about, and you brush that on, and you have to do this in layers. So you have to wait for it. You have to do a thin wash, let that dry, thin wash, let that dry, and then once you have that on, it's what that's what the Super Baldies adheres to, and you peel it up. Now, if you were using that same thing for silicone is not, unless you pre-mix colors in the silicone, it's very, very hard to paint silicone without a silicone paint. So in order to make it paintable, you would have to cover your silicone platinum cure mold with the super baldies first in a few layers to create like a film skin, then pour the silicone on. Then once that's dried and cured, then cover that in. So now you have super baldies with a silicone encase. So that's the 3 different ways you can make the prosthetic. But
that's crazy. That's a lot.
It is a lot, and a lot of people are like, it's so cool, but then like they don't know what they're asking for when you do it, and it's like, why this takes so long? And it's like, well, I'll tell you.
Yeah. Let me tell you about the 16 million steps. So what kind of silicone do you use?
And I use dragon skin. I love dragon skin. I think if other cosplayers who are into mermaid cosplays, they're probably familiar with it because from my understanding, dragon skin is what's used to make the mermaid, the neopore and mermaid tails, as well as some of the silicone bras for people who like to cosplay as mermaids that could actually like dive in the water.
Yeah. I used that stuff for my Hela costume. I love dragon skin, but I've never really made a prosthetic. Well, I actually
recently found out that Smooth On makes a new kind of dragon skin, which is supposed to be a 2-part silicone adhesive that goes directly on your face or on your skin. So you're not having to make a mold and cast it, et cetera, et cetera. But if you have the money to buy that, that is also an easy starter as well, because I think they come with everything and some paints.
Oh, nice.
To mix in with the skin as well. I think it probably might be a modified version of their Silk Pig. Pigments, but they have that. But yeah, it's a basic kit. You know, if you just have liquid latex, if you just have toilet paper, paper towels, things like that, that is pretty much, you know, your best way of starting off with something. And obviously you need the paint.
Yeah.
And, you know, so the biggest thing is where can you know, what type of paint and, you know, what to get it, et cetera, et cetera. And like I said, it can be super, super daunting to like get the most high end thing. Especially when you see everyone use it, especially when you watch YouTube, you know, you got to remember a lot of those people are being paid to push a product. So if you constantly hearing repetition of the same thing, in my personal opinion, go out and try it for yourself. So one of the brands that I absolutely, theater makeup that I absolutely love, that I use both on people for photo shoots, bridal things, when I occasionally will do those, and just for like regular, like general special effects, I love Mayron. Mayron has a line of foundation called Celebrity HD. It's a cream base, and it's made of aloe vera, and it's for sensitive skin, and it's hypoallergenic. So I always try to keep products, like I said, that have like the most minimal, like anything that could happen. And obviously I will have like the small amount for, okay, if I have someone that's super dry skin, super oily skin, and but I always tend to have like a lot of skincare, you know, friendly stuff for people. And their celebrity product is really, really great. Ben Nye has always been the thing. The thing is about Ben Nye is, it's, even though it's theater makeup, you can still use their stuff for regular day makeup, and not a lot of people will like, because you see the title. It's very weird because it's like, you see, I guess it's a mind game sort of a way, because you associate certain products with like what they're used for in the industry at most. That thinking outside of the box, oh, I can use that for something else. A lot of people fail to kind of like notice or turn the wheel to realize, oh wait, I can use this outside of just this. It doesn't just have to have that one purpose. So especially because makeup can cost a lot of money, and you don't want to feel bad for like buying an eyeshadow palette, and it's just like, that's on my eyelids. I may wear for like 4 nice dates out of the year. You know, but when I said eyeshadow palette, it works as 2 different things. So well, the spine is not the best thing to use it for, especially if you pay some money, is it's pigment. So if you need to do some color correcting or mixing in a product, you just scrape some off and mix it in there. Especially when you're doing projects with resin and you need to make jewel tone things really quickly, you don't have color for jewel.
Really?
I have in the past, yes, when I used to make like cast of like jewelry and stuff for props. That was my secret of scraping some of my eyeshadow.
What? You just exploded my mind. Are you kidding? Really? That's
it's
okay.
Pigment. It's so, you know, and I cured, and it was pretty, and it had the nice effect.
All right, that's That is amazing. I never would have even thought to use
for
that.
things like that. And even then, even if you also have eyeshadow and you want to do, like a horror makeup, like a basic thing, like if you want to do like old age makeup, and things like that. If you want to transform your face, especially for Halloween, or if you have a character, that needs like a lot of detail, but you don't want to go out necessarily and buy, all these products, that other people will recommend, to use. You can get away with if you have eyeshadow, if you have it in the colors, obviously, you can get away with shadowing your face with just that. Like I said, when I was a kid, I used that to make bruises on myself.
Sure. And it must work really well based on your mom's reactions.
It really is. Like my go-to thing is if my mom believes I'm actually hurt, I know I'm doing something great. So I am notoriously known for texting her out of the blue, especially if I get a new product or something and I want to play around with it. I once texted her these fake bite marks on my hand because I was playing around with rigid collodion, and I was just like seeing the effects of how it pinches up on the skin to make these little pockets, which, by the way, rigid collodion is great for photo shoots. Just don't ever use it for like actual long-term wear.
Oh, okay.
And whatnot. It unfortunately, it sucks. It'll stay on, but it pretty much, once it dries, it's like a thin. It's like peeling off dry glue if you were to take Elmer's glue and let it dry on your hand. That's what it does after a while.
So how long would you recommend somebody, like maximum amount of time, leave it on their skin? Because I do know some cosplayers that have...
Shoot.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
If you're just... Yeah.
Okay.
If you're having like a nice stage photo shoot and you want to have like that real, realism effect, put it on for, the photo shoot. And then afterwards, if you're trying to walk around long term with it, depending on what kind of injury or effect you're trying to go for, more than likely latex or a prosthetic. Okay. So I had sent her a picture of these bite marks. She thought I got bit by a dog. She's like, "Oh my God, do you need a rabies shot?" And I was like, "Oh no, look, makeup." And she's like, "Are you kidding me right now?" So I just have this history throughout my entire life since
so great.
High school, doing this to her.
Poor mom.
She really, and at this point, I was like, "Ma, I would never send you actual injury photo without asking first. So you should know by now I'm sending you makeup." Like, why? Why?
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so when you're, so you can get away with, using certain things like that. And again, if you want to buy the cheap eyeshadow palettes that you see, at where you usually get cheap, really cheap eyeshadow, Marshall sometimes will have them. I had this one brand, Makeup Revolution. I know you can find them at Ulta and whatnot. Their stuff isn't very bad. Doesn't have honestly a long wear, but it doesn't cost an awful lot, so that's perfect to use. BH Cosmetics is another company where their palettes don't cost an awful lot, and you get a lot of colors from them. Eyeshadow can go longest way.
Try things out, basically.
Pretty much, and
stuff out.
Yeah, and I know you want to hear that again. People want to to get the recommendations because they don't want to put the money in and stuff like that. But again, you can find alternative products to things, and don't get so caught up in the title of something saying this is specifically for. No.
Sure.
You're saying that so that SEO can work in the factor that you can come look for that specific thing, but you can use a lot of things you can use for multi-use. Another thing is getting your color theory down. You cannot do makeup in any kind of way if you do not know color theory. And that goes for skin tones, especially because a lot of people, everyone in general has undertones. So, and a lot of makeup, depending on what you get, will have certain shades or tints, and it's not going to always look the best on everyone. Also, certain colors you put on someone's face may disappear.
That explains a lot about my makeup and things that happen to my eyeshadows and things. I have had those things happen to me a lot. Eyeshadow just disappearing on me. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're someone that has a more pinky undertone, and if you're using makeup that has a pink undertone too, I mean, foundation, yes, but if you're using other makeup that has a pink undertone, it's going to most likely blend in with your face. So you want to go for something that has more of an olive or tan, the exact opposite. Not foundation, none of that. Foundation stick with the undertone, but like as far as the makeup, you want to go the exact opposite. So like for me, I have a golden undertone, so like my skin is very, very yellowish appearing. So what that means is I have a hard time of anything yellow based showing up on me. And I tried to explain this once to someone who was, we had to swap doing makeup looks, and they wanted to kind of make me, I think, look old or something. And I told them, I was like, whatever you do, don't put any yellow tone anything. And I pointed out which products had a yellow undertone base to it. It's the most neurotic. I get laughed at about it because it seems like the most neurotic thing to say. It's like, how do you know? Like this most nitpicky thing, but it makes the world a little bit different because everyone kind of takes that for granted. You see pink, blue. I'm like, berry pink, purple pink, blue shade leaning pink, like so she put this, so I told her, I was like, steer clear of that and go for anything that has purple and blue undertones to it, that you could put on, on my face. So she did all this great makeup work, and then she covered it in a yellow based makeup. So by the time, when they called time to go show off the looks and whatnot, all her work disappeared on my face because she covered it over with the yellow base that I told her not to touch.
Did you tell her I told you so?
I just looked at her. She was like, what? And like, because you have to. So I'm trying to phrase this in the most polite way. You have to understand, and like working in an environment like this, a lot of times you will meet a lot of egotistical people and a lot of arrogant people. So if you tell them up, they will say it's still down, even though they're hanging upside down. Okay. So you could not convince them until they go and stubbornly do the thing, and then they're looking at her like, well, what? And I have to try my hardest in the background to be like,
oh my gosh.
So move on. My poker face game is really, really on point a lot of times because I have the world. It should be considered an X-Men trait at this point of having that conversation.
It's a superpower. Equally frustrating and wow. Well, not to interrupt, but I don't want to forget to ask you this question because it was something that I wanted to ask you because I've always wanted to ask when and I know I'm kind of like backing up a little bit back to the latex prosthetics. I know that silicone can last for a very long time, but how long does latex last for? Like, how many uses do you get out of something that you create?
So any kind of prosthetic that you make is a one-time deal.
Okay.
That's pretty much it.
Even silicone.
And the reason why I explain silicone is a one-time deal is because you have it encased in super baldies. And so with super baldies, when you have to put that on your skin with the Prozaid, in order to blend that in, you have to use acetone or 99. So pretty much once you erode those edges away and they're glued down, there's nothing left. Okay. So you take it up, that's why. Liquid latex, you can maybe get away with it. You can definitely get away with it with liquid latex, but the sanitation thing comes in hand because now that you've had that on you, you've been sweating, you've got dirt buildup and everything underneath. So that's kind of like, think of it as like finding a dirty Band-Aid and then putting it on to cover your wound on your hand.
Oh, gross.
So okay. You can probably, I would not do it because I'm neurotic about sanitation, but like you probably could sanitize it with astringent.
Okay.
But the thing you have to keep in mind is that, again, once you peel something up, you lose the edges. So the beauty with latex is you can still take the liquid latex and stipple back on around and then into the skin and then just paint over it so that it looks seamless.
Oh,
but any of the others, once you remove the edges with the acetone or the 99, that's it for that.
So what would you recommend if someone is doing like the same look, like for a cosplay, and they've got like a certain scarf that looks a certain way, and they just want to have would they cast that? like you were saying?
Yeah, if
Okay.
you definitely know that you're going to be portraying this very specific look, that is when you should definitely look into casting, because it will save you a lot of time. And the best thing about it is you can make them all in one shot and then put them on freezer paper or whatnot and put them in a little Tupperware, airtight Tupperware container. And now you've got your whole sheet of things. And that's what when I had to do prosthetics, for theater shows, and depending on how many shows a night, I would pretty much take that whole week, making out enough for the whole week, and then putting it in there. So I just show up, for showtime, put it on, paint it, put it on, paint it, and not have to go home every night making piece by piece by piece.
Yeah. Wow.
So that batching is definitely the best thing to do. Unless you're really skilled enough to constantly repaint that on yourself, then, by all means you can do that. I mean, the other alternative, I don't like recommending it because it's just, again, this is something that looks good for photo shoots, but I would not suggest wearing it out, is the bone wax or the sculpting putty.
Okay.
And I don't even know where that is.
Is that like scar wax? Any relation to that? Okay.
Yeah, bone wax is the same thing as scar wax, but it's harder and it's white. So that's kind of like if you wanted to do, like, again, like the muscle thing, but you want to sculpt, like, you see the bone sticking out of your hand or teeth or something, that stuff.
Okay.
It's also known as mortician's wax. Those are the three names you can find there.
Okay. I've heard of that.
Each one has a different shore hardness, though, for sculpting. I think mortician's wax is the hardest one, and then bone wax is the second. But the thing is, like I said, putting it on, it's great for, like, making the little scars and everything, again, for a photo shoot, or, if you're shooting a video or something real quickly. But if you're trying to, walk around, especially, like, if you're going to Otakon or San Diego Comic-Con, when those cons are in the middle of the summer, the heat is, like, on high, no.
You don't see very many zombie type gory makeup costumes at those super hot conventions. I guess for a reason. The whole sweating thing.
The sweating thing is honestly controllable. More than likely, it probably has to do with the product. Like, you can get products, but you have to put money into them, and not a lot of people want to. So, like, the most sweat-proof makeup you will ever be able to wear is alcohol-based makeup.
Okay.
And you pretty much use an airbrush for that. So if you don't own an airbrush, it's going to be really hard. And I mean, the alcohol palettes are fantastic, but you cannot cover your whole face with them. They're great for the detail, but you're honestly going to have to, use the airbrush. And then once you have, that on, that actually lasts a little bit longer. And then there's also certain techniques and things that you can use. So working in a haunted house, you have to keep people who are sweating popping up. And, like, my biggest hardcore skill set was making sure people stayed as dry and as long lasting as possible as their makeup. So I don't know how other people usually do their makeups for people who work in haunted. I'm using this specifically because they're actors who are jumping out of things, moving around, and they build up a lot of sweat. And especially if you're who sweats a lot, you could probably benefit from this information. Is that, you want to make sure you have some sort of barrier on your face. I use Mayron Skin Prep.
Okay.
It comes in a regular liquid bottle, but you can honestly just replace it with a screw top and just spritz your face around. And what that does is it beta blocks the pores in your face from sweating. It's not completely foolproof, but it's enough to keep your face, dry while you're applying makeup. This information also works for using water-based makeup to get water-based makeup to last longer. And again, I'll explain to you how this works. So,
could you use this for regular, like, photo shoot makeup kinds of applications? Ooh, okay.
Yes. I use them. Actually, I use them for wedding. I always spray down, like, when I do weddings for brides, I will spray them down. If it's theater, I don't care. That's another product, even though it's for theater. So even though it's for theater for spread, I will use that for everything because it's a really, really good product. And on top of it, it doesn't cost a lot.
Okay, that's great to know because I'm a sweaty premenopausal lady, so I need those tips.
And I realize it's in the gigantic case, and I do not want to roll that thing in here.
No, it's okay. I'll put a link.
It's about like $10. It's about like $16, depending on which size you get. But it is the best thing, to use in the world. There's another version of it which is called, I think, Face Prep or something. It's the same product. I think the formula is just slightly different, but it's the same thing. They just have two different versions for what they do. So you want to lay that down on a clean face entirely, let that dry. Now, depending on what kind of character you're going to be, you want to do what they call highlighting contouring. So even if you're gonna portray a character that seems like they got like a strong jawline, deep sunken eyes, high cheekbones, sunken in forehead, what you really want to do is you want to get the deepest purple makeup. And the reason why I say purple is because everyone underneath, you pull the skin back, everyone bleeds red, and a little bit of a biology thing here. Blood, before it gets oxidized, is blue.
Right.
So everything underneath is usually purple, kind of red, purplish going on. So to emulate that in skin, unless you're playing a character that's a different skin tone, called like a Twi'lek or something, that's an entire different subject. But if you're going for someone that's kind of skin tone based, or zombies as well, especially if you want to show that they kind of slightly were a little bit alive and not the whole I'm just gonna paint my face green. Having some form shade of a dark purple, and adding it to the highlighted areas and whatnot. If you want to go even a little bit deeper with the with black, if you really want to draw in where it needs to be sunken or dramatize that area. And then wherever you want, again, keep the standout on your face. So high cheekbones, you're going to put like the lightest color. So for me, I would go with a beige cream that had a pink undertone, not any of the ivory ones because that's yellow. So I would go for a more pinkier one for me. And then I would pretty much go for the cheeks here. I would go for the chin. If I really wanted to make the cupid's bow on my mouth stand out, if I wanted to do the eyebrow arch here. And then for the forehead, you would kind of go for here. And then if you're going again for the strong jawline, you would do the very thinnest of the outline here to match where you just now put the dark sunline. Powder the hell out of your face with that. And then just kind of, let that dry. And then this is for alcohol makeup. I should have just made that distinguished. So now you're about to go on for the base for the alcohol makeup. So now when you're spraying that on, now you have this undertone of where the shape of your face is going to be. And then because of how fine mist it is, it lays on with a more realism to it. So you're laying the colors on and whatnot, and you're getting the buildup. But you already now have your face shaped up underneath. So now that means you don't have to go super, super crazy heavy, making yourself completely solid, but enough that you look like a realistic person with whatever color you're going on. And then afterwards, you can go back over with the makeup with like a shadow or a blush or anything to just add, any shading and whatnot that you want to do, especially if you're someone going as like a character from Borderlands. And you want to have like those really cool effects. But what this does is it saves your makeup if you're a sweaty person, because once you start sweating, now this is going if you're going for a skin tone character, not a color character. Even if you start to sweat a little bit, that cream outline that you had done already, especially for the darkened areas, if it happens to sweat away on your face where you're like the naturalist, it's already still under there, powdered underneath that layer. So if the alcohol makeup portion starts to erode away, you still at least have some makeup on your face. So
that is brilliant.
Really quickly touch up with that and whatnot, and then you're good. Now, if you're using water-based makeup, the best way to get water-based makeup to stay on your face and pretty much not sweat off is you need to put foundation on first. You need to have after you have like your face set with a barrier, you need to then put foundation on and powder that. So the one that I use is Nutriset. Oh, if I actually turn this around. The Ben 9 Nutriset. You can get them in also colors for skin tones and shades, but Nutriset is pretty much the most translucent one. And again, every makeup company brand now makes their own setting powder. Go to the Theatrical supply. I think this entire tub is $18.
Oh, wow.
I've had this for years. This is how much in it. So it lasts for a long time.
Awesome.
So you'll put the foundation on first. Now, it's very important that you use a cream foundation and don't get like any of the pump liquid foundations, because again, you want to keep the face, dry. You want to keep the pores compact so you're not sweating. So you treat it as if you're wearing a stage makeup. So for any type of thick cream makeup, I would not use the Mayron Celebrity HD. I would use more of like the Ben Nye creams because they're very thick stage makeup. If you're a person that wants to spend a little bit more money for a thick, fancier makeup, MAC has a stage pancake makeup called Studio Tech. However, it's now like $38 or whatever for a compact. But if you really want it, but you want to use it, but again, it has a double standard of if you want to use it for your regular day foundation as well, you get both out of it. But either way, you need some sort of pancake thick makeup, not rubber mask crease paint. They still sell that. On your face, and then you want to pat that down dry with a setting powder.
Okay.
So now once you have that done, then you can go over it with the lovely water, the water-based makeup. And this also gives a much more smoother effect. Now, also when you are painting with water-based makeup, I've noticed people will make very streaky makeup with their face, and the key to not having streaky makeup is using a Philips paintbrush. This is a cheap paintbrush that I got from Michael's.
Okay.
And for Philip, if no one wants to be specific, it's the rounded top.
Oh, okay. I was going to ask you, like, what a Philips
I realized
paintbrush.
I'm like,
okay. All right. No, that's good to know. I love all these tips. Okay.
So it's the rounded one. And so what this does is, unlike using the flat brush, which is great for detail, the rounded gives the smooth blended edge. And this is what will give you the seamless makeup. So especially when you're laying it on, you're trying to get a solid base coat on your face. Or if you're trying to blend in other face paints to get a more seamless color, you want to use this rounded brush. Okay. Because otherwise, any other brush is going to leave your makeup very, very streaky, uneven. Okay. And also it depends on what water-based makeup you're using, because certain ones have a drying time difference.
Oh, okay. All right.
There's only two different types of base that are in water-based. You either get the glycerin kind, which is the one that lasts longer.
Okay.
And that's usually Mayron. Is glycerin-based, so they have a longer build-up time and blendability. I think Graftobian is also glycerin base. And
and that's how you pronounce it, Graftobian?
Yeah.
I've never known.
It took me
I've always been like, is it Graftobian?
I might even be wrong. So it might even be something even more fancier, but we're gonna say that for today.
Excellent. Okay. Holy cow. This is amazing. I feel like I've been downloading all of your information that you're giving me and trying to keep it all organized in my head. This is amazing. I can't believe we've been talking for about an hour already.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Oh, no. This is great. You know what? If this is what we get to talk about, I definitely want to make sure that we get to talk about some of the other things that you do, and give time a little bit of time for that. But if there are any other points that you wanted to make or wanted to talk about with the makeup, the basics, let's definitely get to that. And then because I want to make time for some of the other things you do too.
So again, for makeup, don't worry about budget. Don't be intimidated and just try. You can look up stuff, but at the end of the day, what works for you will not work for someone else. And even if a product isn't labeled what it is, go for it. Again, brushes, you can literally get these from the art supply store, and it's the same thing. In fact, all my special, except for maybe like a few, are actual fancy brushes. The rest of them are all art supply brushes because they're touching alcohol and other chemicals, and I am not trying to spend a lot for brushes that can get damaged.
Yeah. And do you throw those brushes out when you're done with them?
Also, don't be. No, I clean these. No. So like I said, I'm obsessed with maintaining my stuff. But after a while, it will wear down and bristles will fall out and whatnot.
Okay.
But making sure you have some sort of good cleaning, especially if you might be trying to share makeup or put makeup on another person. And again, you can just gradually build up stuff. So you don't have to buy everything all at once. And if you do absolutely want to get yourself an alcohol palette, the best thing to honestly start off with is getting the FX palette, because you can do a lot with this for for blood and bruises. The other palette I would recommend, but I don't know if a lot of people will get it, and this is actually my first palette that I got when I started special effects. It's the Matthew Mungals Star Color, and the reason why I got this is because it was it was cheaper than a Skin Illustrator palette, but it had more options to it.
Oh, yeah, look at that.
And it was, blendability, and
There's
you
like
have to
24
think
colors there. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think there is
Definitely.
actually.
Yeah.
And they have a skin tone one as well. But again, all this for the same. You get like half the palette, not even for the Skin Illustrator. So this was my first palette ever, and this was I think $69 for
Oh,
this whole
wow.
thing.
Okay. And that's the
Um,
same one. You still have it.
this is the same one. This is my first.
Oh,
This is my
okay.
first thing. In
All right.
fact, I will literally tell myself. I don't even know if it's still up or not. But if you are bored enough, you can go on my main Instagram. If you scroll all the way to the beginning of it, I think I have a little haul. Like I don't know if they're still up, but I think I might have a little haul photo shots of when I was first buying special effects makeup. Just showing up. This is what I got, guys. This is blah 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 blah.
I'm going to look for it.
And if it's not up there, I might have archived it. And if I did, I will go back and unarchive
Okay.
it.
Okay.
People can see like I didn't like this is what I had working with.
That'd be super fun.
And then
yeah.
and then the other thing is just challenge yourself. Mm-hmm. So the biggest thing was, even though I did some theatrical makeup in high school and I loved horror movies, I had a really crappy job that I was not great. I mean, I was good at it, but it didn't make me happy. And I was, working cons. I was seeing so many people in costumes all the time, and I was just like, it kept bringing back that sense of, when I used to be on the drama club in high school, and I was like, and I would look at people's makeup, and I'm like, no. But I had to do this thing where it's like, you know what? It is, and I'm sure everyone has the same habit of being critical and judging, especially when you yourself don't do any,
Sure.
you're not putting the effort. So it's easy to criticize and judge. And I was like, you know what? I can do something much more positive than like look at people with bad makeup on. I can get myself involved and, find some sort of way to instruct people or, get involved to like explain to people how to, do something better. Because, a lot of times, again, people don't know. And back in the day, we didn't have YouTube. So
Sure.
Whatever, everything wasn't as photographed as it is now. So I had a challenge with myself. I had saved some of my money up from artist alley tables at the con. And I think I gave myself a $500 budget from all of my savings. I took like a small portion from any of my sales that I had that didn't go to anything else, table fees and regular bills. And I set like around a $500 budget that included getting the ridiculous case that I haul around.
Oh, wow. That's your original case. That's amazing.
I had a lot of stuff from original stuff. And so I was like, okay, if I want to do makeup, where can I do? Because I live in Philadelphia. I don't live in, Los Angeles. So it's like, well, you go to do makeup.
Yeah.
So my first special effects job was working at the haunt attraction, the Bates Motel. And Sean is the guy that him and his brother Rob are the head makeup artist at that company. And they were advertising that they needed makeup artists. And you needed to know this particular skill set and these were the products they used. And I was like, challenge accepted. Okay. So I had a month. To figure out. I had a month to figure out special effects and prosthetics.
Oh my gosh!
And I was just so dead. It's not like my job. Okay, I was just like, I need something different. So I was like, all right, this is what I'm gonna do. So I called up my friends. I was like, so this is gonna be super weird. I know, like, I'm not very big on socializing a whole lot outside of work-related things, but I need a huge favor. Would you like to get your makeup done? Particularly, would you like to be beaten up? Or gore or death. And like, what? So I had a friend who drove all the way out here, and she stayed till like 2 a.m. in the morning, and I did like 4 different looks on her face. And she was my first burn victim. And I'd never done a burn makeup before. I just looked up, I Googled a bunch of pictures. I looked at it, I was like, okay, so this is kind of what it looks like. The pinking area is 3rd degree. When it's slightly, okay, we got it. Good. Did it on her face with toilet paper and tissues, toilet paper and liquid latex, and a really good paint job. And then I just did these pictures, and then when it came time to apply for this job, you had to give them portfolios. I didn't say anything. I was like, oh yeah, I worked in theater. Like, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, oh, wow. They're like, the burns are amazing on here. Like, wow. Oh, wow, like the paint job is amazing. And in the back of my head,
that's amazing. Good.
Please help me. A whole month ago. Okay. So I did eventually, like years later down the line, reveal like, yes, by the way, I really just wanted this job, so I taught myself this in a month.
Yeah.
So that was pretty much it. And then I got the nickname as the Burn Queen for it. And then I would later go on. This was not my choosing. This was something that other people have called me or told me from working in haunted houses that I've known as that I've usually hired the most for my paint skill set, because everyone else will again rely on the prosthetics and a whole bunch of other stuff. I will give someone a very realistic paint job.
Mm-hmm.
And
well, yeah, I'm looking for it through your Instagram again, and it's just absolutely incredible. And I'm not surprised, because you also paint, and you are
that's the other helping hand. But like I said, the biggest thing to learn is color theory. If you can understand color theory, you can understand how you can make blue, purple, and green work as like shadow colors to make up for using black. That's another thing I will tell anybody. If you are shadowing anything on yourself, black is not the only color you use. It will make everything look dirty. You will muddy yourself up. Try and use like a navy. Try and use a deep purple. Especially, or a really dark green, depending on what the base of the makeup is. But really try using dark purples and dark purples and blues as your shadows.
Okay.
If you really need the black, go ahead for the extra effect. But like I was guilty of this when I even was painting. Like I would paint, and the first thing I would do is use black as a shadow.
Oh, I'm guilty.
But it's a learning curve, but it's a thing that will make a ton of difference on your makeup on your face, especially with dimension and realism.
Oh, that's amazing. That is making me remember. I did a Hella costume, and my contouring skills were zero, and you could definitely tell by the makeup job that I did to myself. And I have a really good friend that was like, "Oh, next time, let me just do your makeup for you." Yeah, and I love him for it. It's like, yes, please. I need help. Like I can build things, but the makeup part of it, I'm just, yeah. So that's great. That's great to know. Okay. Very cool. Well, since I brought up your painting and some of the other things, can we talk a little bit about some of the other things that you do as well?
Sure.
Because just going to your website, you've got a bunch of different things here that you do. Let me head over to your website real quick. I've got like all the tabs open of all the things that you do, and I'm cycling through a lot of tabs here. Okay, so I'm here on Miss Manda. Oh, hang on one second. MissManda.com, right? Miss Manda, Miss Manda, but then it's like Wix site. Yes. Okay. And again, I'm going to put some links on here for everybody, so you can go. And you've got illustrations, you've got costumes, sculptures, and then of course makeup. Tell me about this website. Is this your like a portfolio? You send folks here to kind of see your current work?
So yeah, it's pretty much a portfolio where I just send people for stuff. And if I need them to go to like a very specific category, I will just honestly tab it. I used to have a much more like official.com, but I got tired of keeping the domain, so I just put everything on a Wix site, and it was just easier that way. But pretty much, I'll just put like the best of whatever I have available or that fits the category for what I'm, going for, just to display on there. As far as like anything very specific, usually like I will have I have like private ones. So if someone's asking, I need to see like a very, very specific like look, like if someone wants to see like theater sketches or something like that, then I have like a PDF file for that. And whatnot. But other than that, that's just pretty much where everyone can go. And I realize, and like, it's one of those things where it's like, I didn't like the idea of having so many domains for everything because I'm one person. And I wasn't ashamed of having multiple skills, but quite a few times I've noted, and I've come to actually be a little bit more make peace about this, is that some people actually take issue with the fact that I would have all that stuff on there, and it's like, oh well, we don't quite exactly get what you do, and it's like, it's very much laid out. That is what I do.
It's right here.
And and the mindset that it took me to realize and figure out is that not everybody has a multiple skill, or at least puts in a lot of effort to diverse the skills.
Yeah.
So in your mind, if you think only something can be done one way and that's the only skill you learn, and if you're trying to learn multiple skills, you're not as disciplined or anything, that's the really weird stigma behind being the jack of all trades, so to speak. But when it comes time down for like, employment and stuff like that, especially like in the whole situation we're having right now, being the jack of all trades is kind of much more helpful, because if you happen to not get work in one department, you're much more easier to pick up work somewhere else because you're more open to the idea of being flexible.
Yeah, that
So
makes
if
sense.
you've only done this one job for 30 years, this and that, it's going to be real tough for you to move on to something else or be open to a new idea or a new way of doing something because you just know this one thing. And it's okay. And if that's how you feel, that's entirely okay. But it's also, you shouldn't shame other people who like having that variety. Sure. And also I realize that sometimes it could be out of fear. A lot of people are afraid of learning something new. So they may feel intimidated talking to someone who, is doing a whole lot, because they'll reflect back on them like, oh, maybe I'm not doing enough, but nobody wants to really admit or say that about themselves. Sure. And in turn, they'll feel that way. And I've had a few people actually confess to me over the years, like they like years would go by and like people would randomly just tell me like they were so afraid to talk to me or be my friend because they didn't think they could be my friend. And I was like, well, why? And I'm like, well, you did so much stuff and I just did this. I was like, so? I was like, I just don't like being bored and I just like learning new things. And I was like, and on top of it, I was a bit of a loner because none of you would talk to me. So I had to put my time elsewhere. Right, where the skills came from.
It's a catch-22.
Yeah, so, but everyone admitted they thought I was like the coolest person to know, or they thought, or I get called diplomatic an awful lot. Because of the way I handle things. I also ran a lot of programs in school, so that was another reason. And I did a lot of humanitarian stuff on top of all the skill sets. So to me, it's a natural thing to do. So for other people, I honestly don't realize that could seem like intimidation. I like inspiring other people. So when I say that I have a hard time talking to myself about what it is that I do, it comes from that insecure. I don't want anyone to feel bad, like especially if they themselves aren't sure about something and they see someone else like, oh, I'll never get there. I absolutely don't want anyone to feel like that, because I just told you I literally was over here scaring my mom with eyeshadow. So, everything is absolutely doable.
Absolutely.
And there's no, start, there's nowhere to start, begin, and, don't ever feel like you're too old to do something either. And if someone tells you are, I can't curse on here, so.
Yeah.
But you can consent to it.
Right. I'm a firm believer in that as well. Yeah, absolutely. I didn't start this whole cosplay thing until I was, I think, in my late 30s. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm in my mid 40s now.
Really?
Yeah.
You're younger than me.
Oh, I'm 45.
Oh my goodness, I'm 32. I literally thought you were younger than me. I'm thinking like 23. I'm like,
oh my God. Okay, you're officially my favorite person now. You know what? It's just all that sun I don't get because I don't go outside. I stay inside and I make my projects. You are a professional, and you've been doing this professionally for quite a while. And we're running a little bit late with this podcast, but I really want to talk to you about your experiences in the industry and how things might have changed over the years, or things that are wonderful about it, or things that if you're willing to talk a little bit more about your experiences.
Yeah, definitely. Now, keep in mind, like anything like I'm saying is based off of like my own experience.
Sure.
And please don't take things personally. And it's across the board for anyone listening. Because we're in a very reactive time period now. And, like I said, change scares the hell out of people. You don't often want to hear the truth about something.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So I've always been a part of entertainment in some sort of fashion, as a hobby and a skill since, I was younger. And I honestly did not make it a career choice until I absolutely just did not like my administrative job. And this is like my first job that I had when I was, I think, 22. But I long to entertain. And what I mean by that is I love doing anything that inspired somebody or put a smile on their face or made them go, wow, I wish I can do that. Oh, excuse me. And one of the things, I'm like a dinosaur at the moment. And one of the things, that was challenging for me was the fact that I love special effects makeup, but unfortunately, I never saw anyone with my face, and people take that for granted an awful lot or don't really think about how that affects someone, especially when you're growing up in areas, as a kid when you're being told how the world works. And most general of the population does not get to grow up like that. For me, being a little Black girl, the thing you don't want to really hear as a kid is that people aren't going to like you, for no reason, or they may give you a hard time, and then trying to process that. Now, a lot of times people will, internalize that and, kind of wear that as a chip on the shoulder. And I understand how that happens. For me, I'm blaming it on my Leo moon and my Aquarius sun literally uniting in stubbornness and fire, holy matrimony, and deciding we are going to do this.
Yeah.
And we burn everyone who tries to stop us.
Good.
So I pretty much made this dead set mindset that I wanted to be, as unconventional as possible. I do not come from an unconventional family. That is the big shocker when most people see my family. They're like, this is your mother? My mom used to model, so I will leave it at that. So very poshly.
Oh, okay.
And then you have me who wears all black, and I usually have like lavender hair and special effects makeup.
Okay.
So, I didn't want to do what everyone else was telling me what to do. They're like, oh, this is the safest thing to do. This is the safest thing to do. This is too hard. This is too hard. And I didn't want to, stick with that, because at the same time, it's like, if I like this, maybe someone else like this, but maybe someone else might be too scared to do it because they don't see someone like them doing it. And like I said, that gets taken for granted because there's plenty of examples. Yeah, but it means something a little bit deeper to see someone like you doing something because, and again, it makes you think, oh, I can do it too.
Oh, sure.
So getting into, special effects, the place that I was working at, my first job, like I said, the Bates Motel, it was out in Glenside, PA. It was literally like a haunted hayride, haunted house, corn maze, like in the boonies type thing. And I loved it. If people ever had any remarks or anything like that, I personally never heard them. But at the same time, I'm also confrontational. So I lay down the law very quickly with people. I'm not passive aggressive. And a lot of people ended up respecting me for that. So there was no transparency there. So I worked there, I think, for 5 years, 6 years. And I was so sad to go, but the commute to that haunt was like about 2 hours because call time was around rush hour, and getting all the way out to the west part of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
It was madness. So in between that, I also did, I'd also do other jobs like photo shoots and whatever kind of indie work you can get, coming by through here. And, a lot of times when it comes to things, being based on connection, that is true. Connection comes before skill, and it's one of the most frustrating things you can, get yourself involved with off the bat. But the other double-edged sword of the thing is networking sometimes also doesn't work in your favor, because then comes the people being intimidated by you. So I have had experiences where I've worked with people and they, will smile in my face and they seem to like me and stuff like that. And then it'd kind of be a bit of a sword in the back kind of situation, or, opportunities would come up and they would pass them along to everyone else in the room but me. And again, me being confrontational, I'm going to talk to you about it and be like, hey, so I noticed blah, 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 blah. What's going on? And the look on people's faces when they try to come up with the best excuse in the entire world. And it's like, well, this is my specialty. Why did you ask so-and-so when they don't even do this particular thing? And it's like, I had one person say, oh, well, we went to the same school. What's that to do with the job? What's that to do with anything? Know? And it's one of those things that also when you're working in this industry, there's that energy people put out to make or break you. So you walk around with this feeling that you can't say anything or you can't really speak up for yourself because it might cost you your job. Mm-hmm. You don't want to seem too hostile. You don't want to seem too unfriendly or a problematic person. Meanwhile, you are working with, no offense or anything, you're working with other, you know, mostly, because special effects in general is mostly a lot of white people. So people will come over hungover, high as hell, literally bare minimal of skin, and they are given the many chances. If I do one thing, it is a huge target on my back, and I wish I could honestly say that I'm making it up or I'm over exaggerating. And I used to feel like that at first. I would literally have talks to myself feeling like I was going nuts, like I did one thing wrong. Why is, like, are you acting like the world is burning down? Meanwhile, you know, other people around me are doing like the bare minimalist of things, and I'm getting the third degree for this one, you know, mess up. And like, it's kind of like, it almost sometimes would feel like, because like I myself would like put my personal self on a certain, you know, standard or level because I want to be seen at a certain level. And that if I do one thing, it breaks the illusion in their eyes sometimes. So, you know, I've had, you know, situations where I thought people were honestly my friend. And again, because it's networking, you know, they want to know your business, they want all this and that. And, you know, the next thing you know, you're not getting called back for something or hired for something. And then you kind of hear a little bit down the grapevine, someone was a little bit too chatty and just, you know, said something, but rephrased it in a certain way that, you know, didn't sit right. You know, and a lot of other times, again, you know, you ask me what I'm doing and stuff like that, it'll strike a chord sometimes negatively with a person. For a costume job, I was actually super interested in trying to work in universities. I was trying to get some sort of teaching credit as a teaching assistant. And one of the guys that I was working with, you know, recommended me someone, talk to her. Because she's always looking for TAs, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm like, oh, fantastic, you know. So so my experience with teaching was, you know, instructing at Comic-Con panels and whatnot, and going over, you know, makeup and costuming and stuff. So I was like, okay, perfect. And I have, you know, taught before in school settings, with kids. So, you know, we were talking, and, you know, as I'm explaining my skill set, she said, she's like, I was looking for a stitcher and all these other things. I was like, well, yeah, I sewed, like, but she's like, yeah, but a stitcher. And I'm like, yes, it's sewing. I understand. And I will pause to say that this is one of the things that is very irritating that can be in costuming, is the emphasis on saying the correct thing. And what I mean by that is that, yes, there's, you know, certain things that you know, code words and things like that you can say, but it still means the same thing. You still know what I'm saying. I know what you're saying.
Okay. I'm following you. Yeah.
Yeah, but people will just kind of like make that bit like, oh no, it is this. I'm like, I know exactly what you're saying. Thank you. So there's always that level of assumption that I don't know the terminology or something. So people be very, very extra when they're speaking to me about something. And then when I have to go and demonstrate the skill, and it's like, oh, she actually knows her stuff, and she knows more than I do. Now here comes that intimidation. All of a sudden, here comes the backpedaling on what it might have been an offer to kind of like, oh, here, let me throw you a bone and help you out. Now it's like, oh no. So like the first, like, someone once put it to me, and I never honestly looked at it this way, but until someone had mentioned that maybe I might have made them in fear of their jobs, that I might have been seen as like, oh, if their employer sees me working, I bet maybe, you know, I might get their position, something like that. And it's just like, that's honestly never my goal and whatnot. But for someone to feel that certain way says a lot internally, like I said, about how you perceive yourself and your skills and your own limitations. I don't set a limitation for myself, so I will never be afraid of someone taking a job from me. Even if they have a better skill, I will be super proud if you could do something real cool.
Right.
I'll be super awesome about that, but I will never go out of my way to exclude you from an opportunity out of the fear that you will take my job from me. I will go out of my way to make sure you get a job. And I have done that for people. So, so when I had, when I was talking about costuming, she was like, oh, what type of costume? I was like, well, I work with, mostly spandex. I was like, I sew anything. I was like, but I prefer spandex because not a lot of people like to work with it. But as far as, I do high level detail. I told her, like I mostly do a lot of costume replicas, or on screen. I was like, oh, and her response to me, I think her turned her nose up. She's like, oh, well, I don't, I sew like actual costumes. I don't make any, thing off of other people's work. And I was like, have you seen a comic? Have you seen a comic book before? It was on paper. I mean, granted, now comics and stuff like that is, on, in a movie and whatnot. Yes. But before it was paper and some guy drew it in the comic. Like, there are people that want to wear these things, but they don't know how to sew. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
And
exactly.
There's just
that sounds like such a double, like you wouldn't say that to, anyone else. That's just, I can only imagine that how unbelievably frustrating maddening.
It really is. And it's just like, and it's always that feeling of someone's always looking for a certain piece of information to discredit. And I've also had other situations where I've been so helpful to go out of my way because, again, I like helping people. So if I know something's going to work or a situation for the entire whole, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to think about it. But then there's other people that are always, plotting in the background. So thievery kind of comes up. And what is the worst thing to do is if you are not the most popular person in the room and someone, steals an idea or things like that and they're parading around like, look what I came up with or my group came up with this. You are not the most fave person in the world when you kind of casually mention,
sure.
Didn't I give you that tip the other day? Or didn't I do this for you? Or you were in my booth the entire time doing something?
Right.
Or, anything like that. And suddenly everyone's looking at you nasty, like, oh, how dare you try to, this accusation kind of thing. And I'm just like, I'm very blunt. So I'm like, I'm not trying to accuse anyone. I'm pointing out the literal fact that you are using something I literally just did the other day ago or a few times. We had a full discussion and you asked me to explain to you how I did something. And now you're going back around parading like it was your own idea. And then your friends and stuff are getting annoyed with me because I'm not letting you take the credit for it. I don't understand that at all. So, but I will admit, this, for me, the experience and certain things, while I do like to persevere, I will admit that a lot of times stuff has held me back. And not in the way that people would think. It was more so like I put a little spell on myself by internalizing a lot of things and just telling myself, or more so focusing heavily on all these things going on and just the negative aspect of instead of turning it into a much more positive outlet. Because there's been times where like I would leave a job crying. There was I like had to walk away from a company because it got really, really dark because I got tired of the underhanded backstabbing. And when you wake up, in the morning and you don't want to go to work or you're finding excuses to call out of a job that you absolutely loved for like a day because you just need the mental break, that's when you need to start noticing you should not be working there anymore. That's not the environment for you, no matter how much you're getting paid.
Yeah. I can imagine how hard, how much that would interfere with everything, like your work as well, when you're feeling that way, and how much that must get in the way of a lot of everything for you.
Yeah, and I mean, for me personally, I personally see it, not what I was doing, but like what was going, like usually would end up happening or would be going on as unprofessional.
Sure. Yeah.
Because again,
absolutely.
everything's meant to be, networking. So networking means going to parties with people, being invited to these. I don't like to party. I just want to come and do the job and go home. I don't want to, engage in anything where I'm going to end up doing something stupid. I don't want to do that. But that's how people socialize nowadays, especially in this environment. And it's kind of, it would be taken a personal offense if you didn't, want to go or be seen or, you'd be too quick with these things. But also if you're not getting invited on top of it as well, I didn't like the feeling, for certain times on things where it's like, oh yeah, blah blah blah, we were in the group chat and da 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 da, so we're this, and I was like, what group chat? Oh, yeah, so we're doing this on blah blah blah, so if you want to come, that's totally fine. And it's just like, no, thank you, but thank you for letting me know there's a group chat that I'm not a part of. And so it's one of those things, like I said, when opportunities and things come up, you're hoping you're going to be, the best candidate because, you get like, oh yeah, that's great what you did, good review or something like that. And then everyone else in the room is getting picked for the team but you, and you're left sitting there with you, what am I doing wrong?
Yeah.
What am I doing wrong? And then on top of that, when you're trying to branch out, and then there's the monopoly going on as well, then there's that extra feeling of, do you really want to limit yourself to someone else's ego to appeal for, possibly getting a shot to work on a really awesome budget movie coming in for a recommendation or something, or do you want to, let it go? So I would choose to let it go. So I will fully honestly admit that my pride and ego would get kind of wounded from these things. And, I could have chose to not say something and give him, but that would not have been me. But at the same time, I do realize that the way the game works, at the current moment or back then, you have to do these tactics in order to get, where you're going. And then when you do get the opportunity to create your own thing, and this might even resonate for some people, is that what you especially now that we're all at home and stuff, honestly, how many of us have been actually super productive the entire time we've been home? All the time in the world, and you're thinking, I can get so much stuff done. I literally have costume and clothing sketches. I was telling myself, I'm getting this done, and now it's July 1st.
Right. Yeah.
No,
I'm right there with you on that. Yeah, not a lot getting done.
And there's nothing wrong with that, because that's also telling you your body wise that you've been working at a level where you've never had a peace of mind before, and you just don't know what to do with it.
Sure.
And now that you do, it's like, what am I going to do? And then on top of it, you're also sitting, and if you're like me, you're also sitting back reflecting on especially how the situation's going. Where do you go from here? What's going to come up? Where you went wrong in things? How do you go about things? And then it can go two ways. It can go a way where it motivates you to, all right, we're going to put the plans in motion and take these little baby steps towards something different. Or it can go the opposite way, where it puts you in this dark place where now you're kind of feeling like a failure. You're feeling like you're not good enough, especially when social media comes up and you're on Instagram and you're seeing other artists. We're doing the daily challenge. They're putting out these full piece of pictures every day. I cannot tell you how long it takes me to do one of those things. And I actually honestly realized up until now, I have not drawn anything new. I think I've drawn something twice, and I have so many unfinished digital pieces. And it's because I'm just literally sitting here in this reflective mode, thinking about okay, what comes next, they just announced Broadway is being shut down until 2021. I've never gotten a chance to work on Broadway, and I've always wanted to, and I've come and I work with people who work on Broadway, but again, they never made the connection for me. So I've always been all right, well, I'm gonna work it up somewhere. How? And this was an entire year where I had really big projects set up for myself. So
this year, yeah,
this year it just sucked so much, because the one theater that I worked at, I was their head makeup person for their shows, and they gave me the chance to design, and pretty much the designs were being based around what I came up with. That included the sets, the lighting, everything.
Oh, that's amazing.
I was like, what? Are you so serious? And then I was a guest for Dragon Con to do for their podcasting track for voiceover and for the costume track. And most likely, Dragon Con's probably, I haven't heard anything yet.
Yeah, but I can imagine that it's going to happen this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a big parade that gets put on around here, and I got hired as the costume designer and the set designer. They had me come in last minute for someone who couldn't do the job as the makeup, and I had to do 100 and something people in 4 hours of detailed makeup on an airbrush machine. Yeah, it was a fun show. It was a fun show.
That's incredible. Well, I'm getting the sense that if anyone can do it, can do something like that, would be you. You
It's
just,
it's a it's a skill set you pick up at a haunted house, because it's like
yeah,
when you have 300, 500 people and there's only 12 makeup artists and you got to get everybody out in like three
yeah,
hours. You
yeah.
learn where to cut corners and still make it work. So I had these really big things on it, like, televised things and like being seen for once on this super huge platform. And I was just so excited because it's like every time I felt like for the past couple of years, I would get that, slice of the pie that almost like, and then something would happen. I'm like,
Sure.
I feel like a bird who gets like shot in the wing as you're trying to take off. And it's like, why does this keep happening?
Yeah.
But there's always that repeat where it keeps being revisited a little bit more and it gets better a little bit time, but the same thing, it just never makes it that full way up to the top. So,
Sure.
so with everything going on, like I said, Broadway shutting down, I'm like, oh boy. And then I just found out Cirque du Soleil is filing for bankruptcy. And I worked for them a couple of years ago. I didn't get to work with their costume department because they need union workers for that. But because they couldn't offer it to me because of the state that we're Pennsylvania does not use union workers per se for their shows. But because their location was in Camden, New Jersey, but it was being advertised as a Philadelphia show, they had to abide by New Jersey standards and they needed union workers only. So I could not apply for the wardrobe assistant position. So instead they were like, well, because of you, we love talking to you, we love like your entire personality, would you like to be a VIP person? And that was an incredible experience as well because I got to eat really amazing food. But also I got to meet some interesting people in the Tapis Rouge. And then I got the best book of my life because this book is very hard to find, and I think it's about $300 now if you can come across it. But it is Cirque du Soleil's 20th anniversary costume book.
Ooh.
It's super huge, and it details all the costumes from the beginning of the show and goes into the fabrics and everything, and it shows you all these behind the scenes.
Oh, wow.
And I saw it, they had it, and it was the last one because it was going out of print. And my manager, Isabella, knew that I was into costuming, so she gifted it to me. And
that's amazing.
it was at the end of the show, and they were packing up, heading up to back to Canada, and I was just like, I've had that book ever since, and I love it. And for someone, again, like I said, that works with spandex, getting to have that book and see
what a reference.
Stunts.
Yeah.
What all the stuff they do, oh my god, and the tricks that they use for how to, like, for stitching and seams and stuff, especially in a spandex costume, flexibility.
Yeah.
It is an amazing book if you can absolutely find it.
Oh,
obviously,
that's incredible.
Wow.
Wow.
For 300, but they did do a reprint a couple of years ago, so maybe for another anniversary event they may do it again, but you'd have to go to their official Canadian website, I believe, in order to get this book, because it's only available in Canada.
Yeah. Oof. Well, gosh, I would love to get my hands on something. I'm sure that must be just a prized possession of yours to...
It is. I love that. I love that book. If you're like, making it a will, I need to be buried with the book or something. But yeah, so it's like, so it's like, it's those little things where, like, I understand if I was a different person, that probably would eat at my soul a lot more, especially, when you're trying so hard. And, the thing that you get told, like everyone else gets told, you do your work, try your best, try your hardest, maintain, keep your head above water, be a good person, be friendly, and whatnot.
Yeah. But then you have all those other layers on top of all of that for so long. Yeah. And
I come from a very, very multicultural family. So we grew up in this whole kind of bubble. So for me, it was honestly a reality breaker. Because, again, you get told certain stuff, but, again, a multicultural family, you see everyone from around the world. You assume everyone operates the same way. So I would just literally go out and operate the same way. Like, oh, everyone's nice. No one has a shitty motive. And if something did happen, it was usually, I was always at fault. That was the first thing. And that's the worst thing you can ever do is when something does happen, when in a situation, the instinct to just blame yourself because now you're telling yourself, you weren't good enough or something was wrong. And without realizing that, a lot of people don't realize that by saying those little things, by, especially if you call yourself trash, even if it's jokingly, you're putting this little mental spell on yourself that you don't realize is seeping into your subconscious, where even though you don't outwardly feel like that, internally you do.
Yeah. And
it shows up in the way how your motivation is. It shows up in the way of your awkwardness and social interaction. And now that socializing is, even more weirder than before. Like I've noticed, over the years, people have become less intimate with each other. So having personal conversations, like talking to you, is an absolute joy, by the way, because I often don't get a lot of chances unless I'm on a panel talk to another person, because it's usually they're very, it's either it gets very awkward situation where they don't know how to reciprocate the conversation, or they want to keep it very short, go ahead and move. And not ingest anything, and they don't take the time to really set something in to learn or to really make that connection. So that's another reason why making genuine friends, especially in entertainment, can be kind of hard, is because, again, they're looking at you for, are you going to help me get my next gig? And are you cool enough for clout on the internet? So,
oh my gosh.
And it sucks to when you realize people are operating like that, or, they're being friendly with you, and then because they just want to read and see, just giving you all what you can do for them. And then they feel like, oh, we can't get nowhere with you, whatever. And you know what? So that same mentality that I had when I was younger, you're going to cast me aside. I'm going to take that time. I'm going to teach myself something else. And I'm just going to, keep working on my own things. And if, I don't get to, like I said, if you don't remain flexible in some sort of way, and if you're just focusing on just your one skill and that being your only opportunity, you will honestly miss other things that can come your way. And you never know how great of an idea it might be, or it might even lead you to the original plan you had in mind. You just get taken on a bit of a boat ride, but you have to try. And that's pretty much where it comes from, just trying something different. And what's worse, saying you didn't do something because you didn't want to give it a try, and you watch TV or something or whatever. In that same hours, you could have tried this at no cost or anything, or just it cost you a little bit of your time, cut into a TV or a game or something.
Yeah.
And see where it goes. And that's pretty much what, I would hold on to as well. And then also not comparing yourself. And that is a hard thing to do, especially
really
when you see, especially when you see other people at a certain level, or other people who you've either worked with or grown along with, and especially in working environments. All of a sudden they're, there, and then, but again, it's all an illusion, because again, social media is real funny like that. Like, a picture's worth 1,000 words, but when you see someone in person, it's like,
that's for sure. Absolutely. That's, I think, one of the hardest lessons that I've learned. Well, I don't know that it was the hardest one, but definitely there's a lot of opportunities for self-doubt and to put yourself down. If you aren't trying to prevent yourself from falling into that frame of mind, for sure. It's really hard. I mean, even with just the little cosplay, I mean, this isn't even my full-time thing. I can't imagine being a professional and having to deal with this every day in your profession. But it sounds like some solid advice or some words of wisdom for people that might be starting out or maybe in it for a while and encountering the same things that you have been talking about.
Yeah, and I mean, for sure, because like I said, everyone's experience is not always going to be the same, especially for certain things, but on a certain level, you can relate to something because you've had a situation, might not have been the same one, but it gives you that peace of mind of knowing at least it's not me, right. And making yourself think, you're a little nuts and whatnot. So, and I fully own up to the social media as well, because I'm not very engaging, and I see everyone with their bunch of likes and things. I will admit that's what honestly keeps me from posting and interacting online, is because someone posts one thing, it has 10,000 likes in 1 second. I post one thing, I got 4 in like 12 hours.
And dumb algorithms.
Or I'll see a follower drop, and I'm just like, I'm just like, it's not worth the time and effort. And then I realized, you know what? Things take time, because, again, the illusion, I don't know how these people started out from the beginning. I just started following them when they had all these followers. Right. But I don't know how long it took them to get that, or if they paid for it. I don't know.
Right.
But the thing is perseverance. And at least trying. And so the thing I had to have a conversation with myself in this whole isolation period was, are you willing to try? Because if this doesn't work out, if theater doesn't come back, if live shows don't come back, if conventions, or how conventions as don't come back,
Yeah.
what are you going to do? And then every other second there's, you're getting in the news, people are being laid off from work from like the regular average job. So it's like, all right, and I work with my hands, so I guess I'm considered more of like a blue collar person. I built stuff. Like I used to work for a model making company, and I built some a replica thing for NASA last year. Yeah, last year. The NASA has so this is a random fact. Like I said, a random fact. Who care about me? NASA and I forgot what is it? The space conference, I believe. And I think NASA was hosting, I'm not sure, but it's the Axiom Space Station. You can look it up and whatnot. I had to build a 16 scale replica of that, and that was the project that was assigned to me from the company that I work. So this very expensive 16 scale model of the Axiom Space Station that last time I checked was on tour in Europe at various companies is built by me.
Oh my God!
In a basement, mind you, wearing pink and black themed tools. It's the one thing that I like to annoy any
that's awesome.
that I have is I specifically go out of my way to have my own pink and black tool. I will refuse anything from them if it is not themed, or I will go out of my way to buy it.
That's awesome. I love it.
So it's for that, and then some of the military 16 scale replicas of some of the latest military vehicles. I don't know if they've been unveiled, but for future wise, some of their equipment gets like an upgrade and whatnot, so they need a model replica to show the new enhancements and things, and that goes on display for military trade shows as well. So 16 scale replica,
That's crazy. You keep pulling skills and experience out of yourself, like you're pulling stuff out of a hat. It's just like I magic.
Said, it's a casual thing for me. And I actually got called a compulsive liar by someone because I had mentioned these skills, and like, are you a compulsive liar? And I was like, no, I just have a lot of hobbies. Do you only do one thing? I'm sorry, So So, having those little things and those little side jobs, okay, I have those, but it's not long lasting, because once the budget for the military started getting cut, we started getting less and less offers. So then I ended up going back to theater. I took a break for half a year, and that's what I was doing. I was in a basement building stuff for NASA and the military.
That is amazing. That is just astounding. Oh my gosh.
So it was just like, and then come back to theater, and I'm like, I miss this, all this, but like now it's like, what do we have now? So I'm personally my goal for myself is to actually put myself out there, and because of, like I said, I like helping people, and I've done so many panels, and I've gotten asked over the years about tutorials, would I actually do some stuff, and I always said no, or that I would, and I would make some sort of excuse out of, again, a fear of people not liking me. This is actually the first time, you're actually one of the first people that actually, I guess, actually see me in person. So anytime I've done interviews over the years, it's usually a podcast of just audio.
Okay.
If you actually scroll through my Instagram, you will very seldomly find a photo of me, and there's two reasons for that. One, I just like to always be remaining this mystery where I always wanted the work to, show for itself, and like me for that. And then the other one is for the unfortunate reason, and which I've always had to do for jobs as well, is that I had to hide my face because I didn't want anyone to not hire me if they found that I was a black woman. And I had that happen where I will talk on the phone, and they'll be so excited because they look at the skill set and they're like, oh my God. And then I get there for the job, and then suddenly it's like, you know what? I'm something. Or if they do hire me, they make it the worst, the worst experience ever.
Oh, God.
And I just realized that, what? I gotta stop hiding, because when I don't show my face, it defeats the purpose of setting that bar for someone else to feel like they can do something. Because me putting the work out there, and you see me obviously at a convention, that's one thing. But the internet is, everywhere. So you're actually one of the first people that actually gets to see me on camera, because usually no one sees my face unless you're at a convention.
Well, I have had such a fun time talking to you, and I really like, I've done a few audio only interviews, and I really, really prefer talking to face, because I feel like there's a personal connection there that is just not possible when you're just talking to someone on the phone, unless you talked to that person on the phone before or you know that person personally. It's just I've always preferred this. So thank you for allowing me to interview you like this, because I think it's been great.
I found the Facebook group and I thought it was so cool because, like I said, I build stuff as well. So I was like, there's a group. Oh, you guys trying to like mansplain everything to you either. Yay!
Yeah.
I love seeing everyone post everything, and then also like very helpful how everyone is. I mean, I don't interact a whole lot, but I just see everyone posting, and I'm just always looking at these amazing costumes, especially people who do stuff with LED lights. Oh my God. I need to teach myself. I have an Arduino kit, and I have an electronic. It has been on my list to get something other than blinking light system on a bread box.
Well, do you know, so one of the guests that I have interviewed as part of this series, I talked to her just a couple weeks ago. I just have to edit and post it. Sophie Wong, are you familiar with her and her work?
Name sounds super familiar.
You got to go check her.
I'm better with people's faces than I am with names. I'm so honest.
You might. I'll send you the link for her because I think you'll really enjoy her stuff. She has a couple of tutorials, and she is all about. She is a designer. She's worked with the Seattle Opera. So she started, and I think that her role there was more administrative at first, but she definitely has a costuming background and designing, and she has been kind of teaching herself all of these things along the way, and so she's been doing this for a while now. But she has some tutorials, and there's a book, and oh my gosh, it's like completely escaping me what it's called. But I will have to. Listeners, I'm going to put another link to her stuff because it's amazing and you need to go look at it and learn from her. But her whole philosophy is that she teaches herself LEDs and electronics and little devices as to fit the projects that she wants to make. So it's not that she's like, oh, I want to learn about this LED and let's think of a project that I want to use this for. She's like right now, she's making a costume based on a character that is holding this big giant orb. It's like this organic like light thing. And so she's like, well, how do I figure this out? And so she's designing and learning along the way and making this prop to go along with it. And then she takes that information that she has learned and she turns around and she teaches it in a tutorial, or she does a little a write-up or something. But she's very inspiring, and she's got this book that is all about like basics and getting started with Arduino stuff and Adafruit based things. So I'll send you a link to her stuff.
Oh wow!
She's one of the.
It has like some interesting stuff. I discovered their things because of the Ghostbusters Proton Pack kit that they have, and I was like,
yes.
Like I have a humongous 3D printer, and I have the Creality 10S5, so it's the one that has the bed that is 500 millimeter by 500 millimeter.
That is just insane.
I was just like,
wow.
I've been like, I barely get to use this other than making like stuff for mass lately. But like the last thing I printed off of it was the Pip-Boy for Fallout 4.
Okay.
And I had this because I wanted to make more props with it, and I was just like, the next thing that I plan on doing is I'm currently filming myself making Hera Syndulla from Star Wars Rebels costume, and I love her, and
awesome.
I have this weird goggle helmet thing that she usually wears. I made that out of a pair of goggles and a broken pair of Hello Kitty headphones.
Oh, no kidding.
And it's wait, here's this ridiculous thing. I'm like, where is it? It's literally this is what I made like 3 years ago, and it pivots and everything, so it does rotate. So I can like actually like put it like, it's hard to do, but like if I glue this to the thing, it actually does rotate that I can pull it down on the head part. But you know, it's not exactly as like how, you know, hers is. And I was like, you know, I have this 3D printer and like I use the 360 Fusion. So I'm like, maybe if I just take some time out to like actually build the correct like hardware and whatnot for hers. And then if not, if it ends up terrible, I still have this.
Oh no, that's so cool. Oh my gosh. 3D printing as well. You know what? We're gonna have to probably just maybe talk again sometime.
I would honestly love to. I have no qualms about that. So
Okay, good. Yeah, because
like,
there are things that I had on my list
I mean,
that I'd love to talk about. But
if you're
yeah,
open to it,
yeah.
you can set like a theme or something, and I will talk about. Obviously, I can talk a lot, so
Okay.
I can talk about that particular one to make it a little bit more like
Awesome.
topic specific. So people
Okay.
are like,
I this has been so much fun though, and I love that. I love getting the chance to take a deep dive into something, even though I feel like we just skimmed the surface of everything that you do, and I just want to know all the things. And I've just had a really fun time talking to you. It's been really fun. Thank you. Well, yeah, I feel like we're cutting this short, but we've been talking for like 2
it's entirely
hours.
fine. I know you have like a segment, time frame it needs to be.
This is crazy. No, that's totally fine. And I know that a lot of the people that watch this, they'll put it on in the background and they'll listen, or they'll come back to it, and maybe I'll break this up into 2 parts. Who knows? Yeah, so let's definitely do this again, and we'll talk more about other things, or we'll get you. Maybe I can convince you to do like a little, like another chat, like in the group or something. I just signed up for Zoom, so we can do like I don't know. My mind is always like trying to get people connected to each other, like trying to get all of that information shared and all that. So, but before we go, can you tell us one more time where we can find you and your work, so we can come follow you and support your stuff?
So my makeup, you can find me at MFX Makeup on Instagram. I also have a Facebook fan page. There's barely anything on it. My regular main Instagram account, where I usually will post artwork or whatever, like little behind the scenes working on, is a Foresaken Faerie, and it's Fore, not FOR. That is an entirely different lady.
Okay.
And my main portfolio website is Manda, MANDAH.com, and that just pretty much just has everything in categories broken up. And if anyone has any questions, you're always free to like message me or anything like that. Like I said, I love helping people, and I love being able to at least, give some sort of advice in some sort of way, because if I've done the last thing I want is for someone to do the same stupid mistake. So I'm very, very, very much approachable. So if you absolutely have even if you think it's long-winded or a weird thing, even if you think it's weird, definitely message me, by the way.
Okay. That is awesome. All right, listeners, you know what to do. Get your questions. Yeah, I'm really excited about the next time the next time we get to chat, because it's going to be fun. I'm going to have more questions, or maybe we'll have like a Q&A or something. I don't know. Yeah, lots of ideas.
I'm open to it. This is
Yeah.
like super
Awesome.
fun.
Awesome. Well, listeners, you know what to do. Go and find all of those websites and social media accounts. Follow them, and thank you very much again for spending so much time with me and talking to me about all this stuff. I've had such a great time. And everyone, thanks for listening and thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.